It's Sunny. You weren't supposed to make me cry. Oh, good morning and welcome. It is such a blessing to see so many beautiful faces today. I appreciate every single one of you and all that you give to the spiritual community. Oh, so we have been reading this book in the book club, and I was actually late to the party, and so my first book club meeting was this week. So I read three chapters really quick to get going. But what I found in this book of Understanding Your Soul, the Channeled Wisdom of Jesus, um, I was like, wow, I really believe these things that this woman is talking about and what she's saying. Um, so I'm gonna read a little bit of what I underlined here. Your soul is eternal. It is energy in search of expansion. Your soul is continually looking to rise to a higher level of existence. Your soul exists in a continuum of energy that is connected to the energies of all other souls. That is why it is said that we are one. It exists, the energy exists in an environment of unconditional love. No soul is ever punished. I really like that idea that no soul is ever punished because I always believed that, something bad would happen. Well, that means that I did something bad, and that I deserved whatever was coming to me. And, over the last 15, 16 years, my perspective has changed quite a bit. And I've gotten to the point where I understand that we're never punished, that everything, absolutely everything in God's world is not by mistake. And it is also, um, for my greatest and highest good. It took me a long time to get there. Um, I was born into a family. I was thinking about my dad this morning. I put the necklace with my dad's ashes in my on today because I was thinking about him. He was a glass half empty kind of guy. He was not a glass half full, So there was a lot of one of the things that he used to always like to say, and I'm not going to say the bad word, but he would say, "Life's a beach and then you die." So, and he believed that, all through his life. And this book talks about how we can either take actions that expand love, that expand our energy and bring us to a higher level, or we can take actions that contract. And a life that has a lot of contraction, she says, is a life that's unfulfilled. I saw that. I saw that happening in my family with my dad. And I saw what his beliefs ended up manifesting in his life. I was with him in his last days. The anniversary of his death is coming up August 12th. And so I've been thinking a lot about my dad lately. And the manifestation of his beliefs, I saw, I got to experience as his daughter. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for him because what it taught me is that I don't want to live my life that way. Um, you know, we do what we see. I think so, to some extent, that's what I learned. That's what I was taught. I was taught to be a glass half empty person. I struggled with depression early on in my life, in my childhood, in my early adulthood. And so I was living that life. I was living that half glass empty life. And when you focus on everything negative that's happening, you get more of that. And when you focus on the things that are positive and the things that are good in life, then you get more of that. And you know, in the biology of belief, which is this other book that actually this one just like popped into my head today. And I was like, wow, I really need to, open it up. And I did. And there was a bookmark in this particular part that was absolutely perfect. So I'm going to read that. It says, "You have the choice, but I can tell you that if you choose to see a world full of love, your body will respond by growing in love. If you choose to believe that you live in a dark world full of fear, your body's health will be compromised as you physiologically close yourself down in a protection response. Learning how to harness your mind to promote growth is the secret of life, which is why I called this book The Biology of Belief. Of course, the secret of life is not a secret at all. Teachers like Buddha and Jesus have been telling us the same story for millennia. Now, science is pointing in the same direction. It is not our genes, but our beliefs that control our lives. Um, I've done a lot of study in psychology, and there's this idea now floating around about neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is this, it's contrary to the belief that you can't teach a dog new tricks. You can absolutely change how you think, and what you're doing. Um, I've had the privilege of experiencing that in my life. I used to think that nothing would ever change, that I was always going to be depressed, that I was always going to be sick, that I was never going to be able to get out of bed. Um, and as soon as I started thinking that way, that neural pathway in neuroplasticity, there's this neural pathway that just gets rubbed, and there's the grooves that happen inside of our brain. So it makes us kind of difficult to think differently from how we've been thinking. But the idea is that it is possible if we take a look at our beliefs, because what has happened for me is that I had to really become conscious about what my beliefs were. I love how we talk about the principles of unity, and specifically, I create my experiences by what I choose to think, what I feel, and believe. I do and give my best by living the truth I know. I make a difference. I'm so glad that we read that. I'm so glad that we read it every single time, because I need that reminder. I need those constant reminders that it is possible to change my thoughts. It is possible to create new neuro pathways, which is the premise behind neuroplasticity. We neuroplasticity says that we are not set in how we think. We can change it. And, I'm so grateful that there was just this tiny mustard seed of faith that things could be different. Matthew 17:20 is, "For truly I say to you, as a, I say to, well, for truly I say to you, faith as a grain of mustard seed, you will say," I can't even read my handwriting. Okay, but basically, if you have just an inkling, just a tiny bit of mustard seed of belief that things can be different, then you have the start. So just going back to inventorying or just thinking about what are my beliefs? What do I believe in? Because a lot of that stuff, what I found was unconscious from when I was growing up. It was never very conscious. So I didn't really have a conscious picture of what my beliefs were, what my feelings were, what my thoughts were. That's where I needed to start. So I sat down and I started writing down, okay, what are the things that I believe about family? What are the things that I believe about work? What are the things I believe about health? And once I had this picture of what my beliefs were, then I had the awareness that I could change it. And, um, having that conscious contact, that conscious awareness, has been one of the most beneficial things that I've ever experienced. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think that I was going to be able to pay close attention to my thoughts, to my feelings, to my beliefs. Um, and then I started practicing because that's how you get better with anything is that you have to practice it. So I started practicing um, being conscious. And the more I practiced, the better I got at it. I'm still not perfect at it. I'm far from perfect at it. But I definitely have made some progress. And in making some progress, I can see how all of these things that they talk about are absolutely true in my experience. Um, One of the things that happens for me is that uh, I will notice all the things that are not in line with my beliefs or that are not what I want to believe. And then I'll beat myself up about it. I'll say, oh, dang it, you're thinking that way again. You know, um, you want to think this way, not that way, and so I'll go off on this, journey of being negative about whether or not I can change. And one of the things that it was talking about in this Understanding Your Soul book is that all that judgment is not helpful. It doesn't get me to where I want to be. It doesn't help my journey. It doesn't help anybody else's journey. Okay, I think I'm missing something here. So, judgment is pretty much in line with punishment. It's in line with punishing myself for not being perfect, and the truth is that none of us are perfect and none of us will ever be perfect. But perfectionism was one of those things that would just come in and try to destroy any chance of having a different experience. So, I have I'm just gonna give this example of something that happened. So a couple of years ago, I was driving down Orange and I cut this woman off. And I have this car that has the light on the that lights up if there's somebody in your blind spot. And that light did not light up. So I thought I was good and I went in front of her. She got very angry and she decided to chase me through Missoula. She followed me as close as she possibly could. And I was getting furiously angry because I'm like, how do people not know that, mistakes happen? Why can't they give me some grace? And I jumped out of my car and I yelled at her and I was like, stop effing following me. And she continued to follow me. And the next light, she got out of her car and came to my window to scream and yell at me. And then we're getting to where we're coming out of, like I was coming out of Missoula and trying to get home to Lolo. And I thought for sure this woman was going to continue to follow me. And I was so mad. She was screaming at me. I was screaming at her. We were just having a great old screaming match. And um, when I got home, I was just like, my whole body, I could feel it. I could feel the anger and the rage and the just self-righteousness, basically, because I was like, I can't believe that she is acting the way that she's acting. You know, Never mind how I acted and how I responded to that. And when I was preparing for this talk, that story came into my head because it was like, this is something that contracts my energy. This was something that didn't make me feel good about who I was or what I was doing. Um, I was adding a bunch of fuel on the fire, and I got the results of that for sure. Um, and then I was also thinking about this other experience that I had, similar. This was like probably a couple years later. I was trying to pull into Florence Coffee Company, and I was trying to get off the highway so I would get out of people's way. And I ended up cutting off this guy in a van with his friend, and they flipped me off and they got, yelling at me and mad, angry face. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize that I had cut them off. Like I genuinely didn't try to do that. Um, and so what I did in that moment, and this is like practicing prayer and meditation. So, that was definitely something that helped me to have a different experience and do things differently. I ended up getting out of the line, going over to the van because they had parked, and I rolled down my window and he rolled down his window, and there was fear all over his face because he just thought I was going to scream and yell at him. And what I said was, I am so sorry. I did not mean to cut you off. It was not my intention at all. And I hope that you can forgive me. His entire being changed right in front of my eyes. And he was just so apologetic. And he just really was grateful that he was like, but you got out of line. You got out of line to come and tell me this. And I was like, well, I can get a coffee another time. It was really important for me in that moment to go and try to make it right. And that experience was something that expanded my energy because I was acting in love. I was acting in caring for somebody else. And, that was the first time probably that I had been able to change my behavior in that way. Um, but what that took for me to be able to do that was pausing and praying and connecting with that Christ light that I know is within me. And I know it's within me because you guys have taught me that it's within me. It's within me because I see it in you. I see it in your faces. I see it in your actions. And I'm so grateful, because I don't have to have a glass half empty kind of life anymore. Um, I can have any life that I want because it says that I create my experiences by what I choose to think, feel, and believe. And so do you. I mean, that's the great thing. That's why, I was talking a little bit about, judgment and punishment and all of the things that keep me from this, you know, the light that is within. And one of the experiences that I've had is that even when horrible, terrible things happen and somebody is screaming right in my face, um, I am able to see myself in them. I actually had somebody scream in my face not too long ago. And what happened for me is that I got quiet. I got still. And I could visualize everything that was happening, but I was detached from it. And she screamed, she yelled, she got angry, she did her thing. And then she left. And I kept quiet and I kept my cool, which was not how I responded to people in the past. I can tell you that for sure. I would, if somebody gets angry with me, my response is I'm going to get angry and get in their face right back. But it didn't happen this time. This time I was silent. And the interesting thing is that I didn't feel like anything, like I didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing that I did to make that happen. It wasn't a punishment. It was just an experience. And the interesting thing is that I've done what that woman did. I've been there, where my response was anger and I reacted immediately. Um, it's just so amazing to me how God works and how I can see God in a person who is screaming and yelling at me. Because I saw myself. I saw God because I saw myself in her in that moment. So, you know, uh, what ended up happening is about a week later or so, she came to me and apologized for her behavior, which I don't think would have happened if I had gotten right angry back. I don't think that she would have responded in that way. Um, but she ended up coming back and apologizing and telling me how she felt uh, just disgusted by her behavior. And I was able to have compassion because I've been there. I mean, we've all been there. None of us, we've all lost our cool. We've all, gotten into a situation and reacted poorly or reacted in a way that wasn't in line with what we believe and who we want to be in the world today. So, you know, it, it works if I'm willing to practice, and it's the practice that Um, I'm really good about it for a hot minute and then I forget and I'm not praying and meditating. And then life is happening and I'm like, oh, you know what? I think that if I prayed and meditated, this would be better. And then I get back on track and it goes round and round and round like that. Little by little, I do get better at it. Practice does make progress for sure. Um, But yeah, it's hard. It's not always easy. And I think that that was something that was pointed out in the book group that made me think about belief and how if I believe it's possible, it's possible. I can do it. If I believe it's not possible, then there's no motivation for me to do anything different. Um, so I try, and this is probably the hardest part. Like, not judging other people is probably the hardest part for me. Not punishing them for something that they have done to me is also very, very difficult. And it's possible because I've done it. I've done it. And now I see how it changes everything. Like where was that part? Um, we do our best by living the truth that we know in that moment. And if I can remember that about you, then I can remember that about me. I can remember that I'm doing my absolute best in this particular moment by living the truth that I know right now. Now, my truth might change. It might evolve over time. The closer that I get to God, the more truth flows in, the more love flows in. Um, It's been a pretty challenging time for the Panique family. We've been going through quite a few things, especially with our house. My backyard is dug up right now. We're trying to dig a trench to put down an electrical line. When my husband was doing that, he found out that there's a leak underneath the bathtub. I mean, it's just, it's a 35-year-old house and stuff is going down. Uh, Alex got into big trouble. Um, I'm not going to go into the details of that. But what ended up happening is that all of his devices got taken away. He got grounded, and it was like it was an adjustment for all of us because we're not used to him not having his devices and not having anything to do. So it was like he got grounded and so did we to some extent. Um, but something beautiful came out of that. Something absolutely gorgeous came out of that. We went bowling. We went to the movies. We have been watching some shows together. We've been laughing together. We had a really long conversation about what happened and how he can prevent stuff like that from happening in the future. And I mean, it's just been an incredible experience. We've gotten to spend so much time together. And, that's what I mean. That's the example of, whenever I think that something is terrible, and I am like married to the idea that this is a terrible thing and all these terrible things are going to happen as a result of this terrible thing, then what ends up happening is that all I see is what's wrong. I never get to see what's going on that's right. And because I've had this experience of connecting with with God, and looking for the good, looking for the miracles in everything that happens, because I've been practicing that, I could see what a great gift it is to be able to spend this kind of time with my son. I've had the experience of, okay, okay, son, I'm gonna leave the house. I'm gonna go do this thing. Mom, could you stay? And so, I've had the experience of my teenager still wants to spend time with me. And what a gift that has been. I don't know what's going to happen with the house. I don't know what's going to happen with my dog. So I have this little chihuahua that I inherited from my dad when he died. And she is having heart palpitations and she's having mini strokes. And every time I come home, she has an episode where she can't move for a few minutes. She does regain her ability, her mobility, but she is struggling. She's 16 years old and she is to the end of her life. And, I want to have some control over that. I want to, you know, um, I want her to not die. That's what I want. But I don't, I mean, I don't have any control. I don't have any control about when she goes. All I can do is just be there and give her love and give her attention and sit with her when she can't move. And even in that, there's a huge gift because I've gotten 7 years with her. After my dad's passing, I've gotten 7 years with her to love on her. And that is expansion. That is a soul's expansion to be able to experience the joy, the love that this life has to offer. Grateful for that. I guess one of the things I'm gonna end here pretty quick, but um one of the tools for creation that research is looking into is gratitude. Because when I am grateful for the things that are happening in my life, then more shows up for me to be grateful for. And it also helps me to create my experience. Trying to find the end here. Here we go. Okay, so everything that happens in my life today is an opportunity to expand on my capacity for love. It's an opportunity to try to connect with and to manifest unconditional love for other people. So I lean in to my connection with others. I lean in to mindfulness, meditation, and presence. I know today that my belief in God creates a different life from what I've seen. I've lost my place. Oh, so I guess if you've heard anything, um, the takeaway for me over the course of these experiences is that it's so much easier to live a life where I believe that all things are possible. It's so much easier to see it half glass full or glass half full rather than empty. So I encourage you all to look at your experiences, look at your beliefs, and notice. Notice what it is that you would like to be different and how you want to move forward in this life and in this world. And that's it. Let's move into some meditation. All right. As soon as I find it. Here it is. Okay, great. All right. Let's begin by taking a deep breath. Let's do two more. Allow your body to soften. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw relax, and lay your hands gently wherever they are. Another deep breath in and out, releasing anything you don't need in this moment. Bring your awareness to your heart. This is the center of your being, your soul's home, where that divine, unconditional love dwells. With each breath, feel the center expanding gently with light, with warmth, and with peace. Now bring to mind a belief that you hold, something you've told yourself recently. It might be about who you are, about someone else, or about the world. Ask yourself, is this belief expanding my energy or contracting it? Let the answer rise without any judgment. Now, imagine placing that belief in your hands just for a moment. Can you soften it? Can you see it through the lens of compassion? Invite your soul's wisdom to speak. What would I believe if I knew without a doubt that I am love? What if you believed that you are doing your best, that others are doing their best, and that all are loving? As you breathe in, imagine that belief flowing into your heart. And as you exhale, feel your soul's energy expand. Feel it reaching outward in all directions. Let the light of understanding move through you now. Let it bring grace to your thoughts, gentleness to your feelings, and power to your beliefs. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present, to grow, to heal, to expand. Silently repeat, with God, all things are possible. I expand through love. I believe in my soul's wisdom. Take a deep breath in and out. Invite your awareness to come back to this room. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's go ahead and stand for the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. We are one. All right, let's form our